Hello, everyone. I am Christine Francois, Director of Customer Success here at Followup. We're so glad to have you join us. Some of your names I recognize and some of them are newer probably to our system, and I just haven't met you yet. So welcome. We're so glad you're here. Setting goals is something I love talking about. I love it when people use Followup and they haven't implemented goals yet at their company. Because there are really easy tools within Followup to be able to track and manage what your team is doing. Sometimes I hear companies say to me, oh, we don't need any goals for our team. Everyone on our team works really hard and we're doing everything together as a company. And I applaud that. I think that's great. But when I know what's expected of me and there is a goal set in front of me, especially you people, you who are running sales teams, generally sales people are very competitive. So having a goal, having something in motion, it's how you run the rest of your business, right? Like you have bottom lines of what you're trying to accomplish year over year, and setting goals for your team members can help drive those numbers. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how to set up a quota for an individual, for a group of people at your company, and what that translates to in the system and how you can view that information. If you have specific questions for your use case and scenario, please feel free to drop those in the chat. Sarah will be keeping me apprised of those things because I'm not paying attention to that right now. And even if there's a specific use case that I don't cover today, please send it over to us anyway, and I can send you a Loom video after this call today, or direct you with further documentation so that you know, hey, this is how you get that information. So I'm just going to get going here. All right, so I have a system open, our demo account, and I want to show you what it looks like quickly before we dive into the nitty-gritty of creating the goals and the quotas. So we have, I'm going to filter it by the company. And I have the current quarter here, and I'm going to look at the last. Hot take, my favorite filter on this page is the last 365. I feel like it gives you such a wonderful picture of everything that's happened month over month for the last year for your company. So if you hit the last 365, you can even save that as your default under the My Settings area with defaults, and then you can see month over month how much was bid and how much was won. So let's do the month of December here. You can see the goal was $1 million. How much was accomplished was 3.7 million, and this is the bid volume. So you can see over the year, the bids equal 63 million. The quota was 1,200 million. Wow. 12 million? 12. I can't read numbers today.
Yes, 12 mil.
12 million, but this is 63 million. Oh.
Percent of quotas.
Anyway.
That's what it says.
All right. So basically you can see for this month of December that 3.7 was accomplished and $1 million was what the goal was. So they bid, you know, almost 3.5 times what they needed to bid that month. And then you can see for December, the goal was 500,000 and they pulled in 19 million. So you can see the diversity month over month. You can look at this for the company, for an individual, for an office. So if you have a division and you're trying to track how that office or division is accomplishing something, you can select the division that you want to see. This one's set up a little bit different, but they have the divisions or the offices that you want to see, and you can filter by those things to see what you want to see on this page. So I'm going to show you how to set up all of those things in the back. I also want to talk about quickly how to start with a quota. If you haven't currently been doing quotas and you don't know what your company's closing ratio is, a really good place to start for commercial bidding is 20 or 25% of what you want to say your closing ratio is 20 or 25%. That's a really good baseline, unless you're a customer that does repeat work with the same clients over and over and over again, and you know your closing ratio is much higher. Maybe it's 70 or 80% because you know, hey, we work with 100 clients and these people always award their work to us. So I know there are a few different use cases where that would be different, but in general, I've found that a 20 or 25% closing ratio is a really good baseline to start. And so if we're starting at that 20 to 25% closing ratio, let's say we want our contract volume to be 100,000, it's simple math. We're going to have our bid volume goal be 500,000. So we just want to have a really easy, I would use whole numbers like this to make your multiplication really, really easy. We don't need to complicate things. I've seen things where people want to get it down to the exact penny and they're like 562.93.84 and 0.77. I'm like, okay, that's great. You're more than welcome to do that. I don't think it's necessary for the purposes here. We're just trying to get a baseline. So if we come here to the system and we go to your name, you do have to have administrative privileges to set up a quota for an individual on your team. So if you are someone who does not have admin privileges in the system, you'll need to talk to your champion, owner, system admin to be able to set these things up. If you are a manager or someone who is overseeing people on your team, they can even set you up as an executive in the system so that you can set goals for your teams. We do have a link here in the Help Center that goes over all of our current, right here under the help videos and articles, it goes over all of our security options. So if there's something you don't see today, or you see today in my system that you're not seeing for yourself, it just has to do with your user permissions. Okay, so we're going to go to the company settings here. And from company settings, we're going to navigate on the panel on the left down to the People tab. From the People tab, you'll see these are the pending invitations. So these people haven't registered the system yet. And then down here, we have everyone that's registered, and I can go ahead and I have two different options here. I can click into the individual I want to see and just edit the quota for that specific individual. Or I can come up here at the top and edit the quota and see the entire team, meaning I could assign multiple people quotas at the same time from one window. So I'll show you what it looks like both ways. If I come here to Doug, it'll show me his month over month quota. I can come over here and add a new quota, and I'll show you how to do all of this in a moment. And then I can even choose whether I want to include this person's quota in our company reports. So you can select or deselect this button. It'll automatically be selected for you. A use case where people at times do not include this user's quota in the company reports would be maybe someone who's estimating on your team, but you also have an account manager that is also taking credit for that same work. So you wouldn't want to duplicate that in your quota pipeline. Okay, I'm going to go back here and then I'm going to show you what it looks like if I want to edit everyone's together. This is really helpful when you have several people on your team that maybe have the same number goal. So let me show you what that looks like. I can hit this button here. It's going to pull up all of the users in my system, even if they haven't registered yet. So this is a great use case for, hey, we're hiring someone next week. We want to have their system all set up, have their quotas set, but they haven't registered yet. So you could do that in this scenario. Or if it's a new year and you want to register everybody for their new quotas, you can do that. So you can see that some people have goals here, some people don't. If I want to set a goal for individuals, let's do Rachel, Luke, I could set goals for different people that I select. And then I could come here and hit set goal.
And it looks like this is alphabetical, is that correct?
It is in alphabetical order, yes. So I can select, it's automatically, since I selected January, it automatically pulled January for me. If I select a different month, it'll automatically pull that month. If I want to change that, I can open the calendar and select the date that I want this quota or goal to start. Now you have a few different features here. One, you can do the bid count, the number of projects, proposals that they are delivering, right? So the number of numbers they're bidding. So I could say, I want the bid count. I want them doing at least one bid every week. I'm going to mark that at 4, just based on a four week month. I want the bid volume to be 1 million. You can also have bid gross margin if you want. I don't see this used a lot, but I do see it used sometimes. So if you use a bid gross margin, great. A lot of people do use the contract gross margin. So then I can have a contract count. So let's say I want their contract count to be 2, and I want their contract volume to be, what do I want their contract volume to be? 20. I missed a 0 here. Okay, so I'm going to set their closing ratio basically at 20% here. So they need to bid 1 million and win 200,000 a month. So I just did simple math to make it really, really easy. And then I can have a contract gross margin. Let's say I want my gross margin to be 25%. And then you could also have sales behavior hour goals. So I'll go over what that looks like in a minute. Now,
Question for you on that gross margin, Christine. Is that
yes,
percent or is that dollar amount? I was a little
that
confused because it has the dollar sign next to it.
it's 25% of the dollar value.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yes. And then what I can do at this point is I can just say it's just for this month, or I could apply it to the remainder of the year. So the reasons you would or would not, I think you guys probably are the experts at this, but people that are in the Northwest, so some of my teams in Michigan, Minnesota, all of these, Midwest, they're really Midwest, but the North Midwest here, that are dealing with a ton of snow right now, you might have lower quotas for your team in November, December, January, February. And then you might have higher, I know our Canadian teams, their quotas are almost 3 times what they are in the winter. So they'll have different numbers for January, February than they do from June, July, and August. So if it really depends, but our Florida teams, they basically have the same quota all year long because we have rain and wind all year long. So
Consistency. Yep.
we have consistency here, which is different. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply this to the remainder of the year so that it's just an even base and it's really easy on me to do that. Now, before I hit save, I can also determine if I want to have a quota that's broken up, what that means. I can click on the quota breakdown and I can select an office. So if the specific users I've chosen belong to a specific office, I can assign this quota to the office. This use case works if you have multiple offices, divisions, however you like to call it at your company. So if you want these guys, let's say they're all in Arizona and you only want their quota to apply to the Arizona office, you could do that. Now, if you still select the company filter on the dashboard page, it will roll everyone's quotas together. Now, if you select company and don't select an office, it'll roll everyone's together. If you select company and only select Arizona, you'll just see the quotas that are assigned to the Arizona office.
That's really important. I know that comes up a good bit as we're working with larger and larger companies. If anyone has a specific question about that, please put it in the chat and we can go over it or say it a different way so that it really sticks.
Okay, perfect. And then you can also say, hey, this is for the Canada office, but I only want a specific percentage of that quota to apply to this. So I have a team right now that we're working with, and they have offices all over the US, and some of their guys work in both Michigan and Canada. So they could have a quota for their team, for even for the same individual. Half of their quota is for the Canadian office and half of their quota is for the Michigan office or the US office. So they can definitely, you can split up the quotas and then do the percentage for that. So I could say 50, and I could even additionally apply a contract type quota as well, say commercial 100%, and I could hit add, and then it would add that quota. And then if I wanted to add the other 50% to a different office, I could do that as well. So I could do Dearborn, Michigan, 50%, contract type residential, 100%, add. And then I have my quotas set up.
That's so great. It's all about making the admin life easier, right? To think that we used to do this manually or on spreadsheets. Now you can have it all connected.
100%. And you used to have to do this month over month regardless. And so now you can just apply it to the remainder of the year if you want, which is great. And then I can hit save. And then my quotas for the people that I selected will update and everything will be all set and good to go. So now you can see the 200,000. This is on this page, it's going to show you the contract volume quota. And you have the year selected here. So if you selected a different year, it would show you a different, and then it'll also show you, what that rolls up into for the year over here, the net total at the back. And then if I scroll down, you'll see what I've assigned to these offices for the contract volume. Now, sometimes I will have people say to me, I don't want to assign a quota to an individual. I only want to assign a quota to an office. Well, I'm going to help explain the perspective on this is that every quota is driven by an individual that belongs to that office. So everything will be assigned to an individual. And if you don't have a specific quota for an individual, and there's 5 of you on your team or 10 of you on your team, you're going to take your whole volume, divide it by that number of people, and then assign the quota accordingly. Or we do have some people that'll say, hey, I'm the owner. I'm just going to assign it all under my name and whatever happens, happens. But I will say again, I still think it's valuable to assign a specific goal to an individual because then they have something to work toward. They know what they're trying to do. So I always find that to be very, very valuable. All right. The other thing I wanted to talk about today, and then I can go back to the dashboard here and show you guys what this looks like. You'll see the values have changed because of the quota. And if I click on the little quota bar, it'll actually show you which quotas belong to who, and then you can see what needs to be accomplished. So that's a little trick there. If you ever want to see, hey, how are my quotas accumulating here? I can see that. And then if I were to go back and only select an individual instead of the company, let's say I just want to see Rachel. I can hit apply here, and then it'll just show me the quota that I have for Rachel and not the quota for the whole team, which is great. Do we have any questions yet, Sarah?
I think you've naturally answered them, which is great. So, one question I have for you is when would you recommend using this? Like, is this something that you should be going over in a weekly team meeting? Is this something that maybe the owner does on their own? Should you be telling your salespeople that they should be checking this on their own at a certain cadence?
So my general thought here is it's set in a very natural cadence of month over month, right? So every month I know what my team's goals are, and I'm looking at this on a weekly basis and reporting what's going on for my team and talking about it. I think when you're introducing quotas, it's very helpful to have a meeting with the individual and say, hey, this is what I think your quota or your goal should be. How do you feel about this quota or goal? So that you can have that conversation and navigate where you're moving together as a company and being transparent of this is where we're going. Do you want to come with us because you're on our team? So I think that's very helpful. I would advise using this in your sales meeting and people seeing, hey, how they're doing on their goals. You want to pull up your company dashboard and show everybody, hey, this is where we're at today. Okay, Rachel, go ahead and present. Where are you at today? What are we doing? There's a lot of accountability that happens when you show this on a peer level that will drive accountability and performance, in my opinion. So I think there's a lot of
Absolutely.
ways you can use this.
Yeah, you used the word I was thinking as well, which is accountability and just giving everybody visibility into it. And one of the major benefits that we always talk about here at Followup CRM is bringing your team into one system, getting on one page, because together you can go further, right? So we've got a
Yeah.
couple Bobs on the call. One of them, Bob Hudson, says, I have assigned quotas to my team. However, the overall total does not show up in the company dashboard. Only my personal quota appears. Can you help us with that, Christine?
Will you send that to me and I'll take a look at his account and see what's going on there and make sure all of it A lot of times when you're not seeing the data that you want to see, it's generally a date filter issue.
Mhm.
So we want to make sure we applied the quotas to the appropriate month, year, to make, so maybe you set up quotas in 2024 and now it's 2025 and your quotas aren't in the system for 2025, or maybe there's a button that needs to be checked.
That's a good troubleshooting, like you said, just something we commonly see. Hayden also has a question here, and he said maybe you'll get to it later, but is there a visual widget that runs off of your firm quota number that can be pinned to a dashboard? Is there a way to visualize in your dashboard the firm quota numbers?
So I think what Hudson is referring to is he wants to see his quota on the dashboard, but he also wants to know what the company overall quota is.
That sounds right. Hayden, let us know if we're interpreting that incorrectly.
I would imagine that's what he's referring to. So in this view right here, you can either look at your individual view or you can switch it to see the company as a whole. With custom reporting, you could build a report that would allow you to see your individual goal and the company's goal as a whole. But that would be a custom report that we would need to create so that you could see that information.
Yes, and don't be intimidated by the word custom. I know we did a webinar on this a couple months ago, and it just means that it's really serving you individually. It doesn't mean that it's overly complicated. So we're happy to talk more about that and getting you set up.
100%. Absolutely. Okay, so the other thing I want to navigate to is you'll see this other column here on the page all the way on the right that says sales activity hours versus sales activity quota. This is referring to the project activities that you have in your project. A lot of you probably have similar activities where you're delivering a proposal, you're creating an estimate, you're revising a proposal, you're contacting someone for a follow-up. It's referring to all of these activities here. Now you can give credits, basically. You can assign credits or hours to these activities and then give your individuals a goal of what they need to be meeting every month. So this is how you would do that. We can come here to your name. We can go to company settings. As I mentioned, you would need to have admin privileges to do this, and you could do it here under activities. There's a couple of different ways we can do this. One, you can decide, hey, all of these activities count as one thing that someone has done, and you can assign them a value of 1. Or you could assign them in a value of hours. It really just has to do with the way you like to look at things. I know people that do it both ways. For the purposes of today, I'm just going to assign everything a value of 1. And if you complete any of those things, you get 1 credit. So what you could do is assign an individual a number of activities or credits they need to be doing within a month. So we could come here to our goal area again, and you can do it by individual or go into the group goal again. I could select Doug, and I can actually just select anywhere on this bar, even though it doesn't say select anymore, and it'll open for me. And then I can go down here and say sales behavior hours. So if we think about that list again, let's pull up this really quick. Sales activities. So maybe we want to say proposal delivered, estimate due, contact, can't spell today, don't worry about it. And let's say you want them doing 5 proposals, 10 estimates. Well, let's do a more realistic number, and then maybe 20 initial contacts or comments. So then we add all of these up and you have a number of 30. And you want them doing that every month. You could do, hey, we want you to have 30 sales behaviors a month, apply that to the remainder of the year, save. And when I go back to Doug on the homepage, he's going to have that quota of Doug. You're going to see 30 month over month that he's going to be assigned. Now, a really great way to use this feature, I think, is even better to see it in the report card as opposed to here on this homepage. Here will give you an idea of the overall accomplishment, but the report card will really dive into what they're actually doing week over week. And I strongly advise people to use the report card in your weekly sales meeting. So we're going to select the report card. And what would happen here is as activities are completed, so let me go into a project and just complete an activity here. And I'm going to put one in for today. Save. And just as a reminder, when completing activities, the person who checks off and completes the activity is the person that gets credit for it. So if your people are telling you, hey, my activities aren't showing up on my report card, I sent that proposal. Well, if they didn't check off proposal approved or proposal delivered, it's not going to show up on their report card. So they have to do the clicking to get the credit. Okay, so now we're going to come here to my sales activity hours. You can see everything is assigned a total of 1. And then these are the things that I accomplished. And these are this is the project that I did this on. Make sense? So what I love to do here is to say, hey, I know I'm supposed to do 4 site visits a week and 2 proposals. I only did 1 site visit and no proposals, and it was because of this, this, and this. Or, hey, I accomplished over my goal, and this is why I was able to do that. I was making up from last week when people rescheduled. Or, hey, it was just a really busy week this week, and that's why we got so much done. So this is a great way to see, hey, this is what this person bid this week, this is what they won, and these are the activities they completed. So this is something that you can use to really drive home what people are doing and have a full picture of what's going on within your company. Okay, so I think we've done like a pretty expansive overview on how to set up quotas, why they're important, and how to set up activity goals. Do we have any additional questions on anything that I have addressed today?
Yes, please put those in the chat. I know when we took a break earlier for questions, a few of them came in. That was great. I love that momentum. I've been writing notes as you've been going, lots of good tidbits. So you said your favorite filter is 365. Looking back over the year, you can see month to month, comparing how much was bid versus won. And then I thought it was a really good tip to start, if you've never done anything like this before for your team, start with that 20% as a good closing ratio. And then as you get some data under your belt, you might want to change it, right?
100%. That's something that you can evaluate after you've been doing it for 3 months. And maybe your closing ratio changes during the year based on your location and the type of work you do during the year. But I think having a baseline and starting someplace, you're going to get a lot farther than if you just say, hey, I don't know what it is. We're just not going to do it until we figure it out. You're never going to figure it out. It won't be a priority. Start someplace today, and then you can adjust later.
I totally agree that the 90 days is usually where you get some usable data, but don't be intimidated by like, oh, I'm going to have to stop and look at the last year before I can set goals for the coming year. Just get started. The sooner you do, the sooner you're starting to collect that good data like we talked about. So we talked about how to apply for one single month versus all going forward, which might be the case if you're somewhere that has inclement weather and you're not able to do the same amount of business month over month. One thing that I always want to point people back to is inside of here, that help button at the bottom right corner. We've got articles on a lot of these topics that you can always reference, and then you can always chat with us directly. Of course, you probably have Christine or Isaiah's email. They are talking all day, every day. And then I liked the tip about even if you feel like you want to apply a quota to an office, try to take the head count of the office and divide your overall number so that you can start to see individual progress. That was really good. And I love how all of this in the demo that we're doing is like updating in real time. It shows you that you don't have to, it used to be you have to put stuff in and wait, a day later and come back and see it. But that's just one of the benefits of our system. It's ever evolving, it's looking great. Any other questions in the chat before we wrap this up today? Okay, well, thank you for joining us. We are going to tell you the next topic we're going to be covering is Zapier connections, which have been requested by a lot of people. And we did product roadmap previously, which is great to know that it's on YouTube. If you want to watch it, we have a whole playlist for our webinars that you can access at any time. And we always do this on the third Thursday of the month. So please join us next time around. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you so much, guys. Oh, and the last thing, I think Sarah briefly mentioned it, but all of the help button's actually helpful. Click on it. It'll do wonders. The other thing that I would love to say is we care about your suggestions. If you have an idea, an enhancement, something you'd like to work differently, please click this suggest a feature button. Let us know what that is. We'll add it to our list of things we review every week. We care about what you guys are interested in, and we release new features every week. So please reach out, let us know, and keep us posted. Thanks so much for your time today.
Bye, everyone.